Here is a PS5 that was brought in for repair because it doesn't turn on. You can see here, I have a power cord plugged in. If I press the power button, it beeps and nothing comes on. And then I can't, well, there it goes again. Earlier today when I plugged it, it did flash the blue light for a hot second. So this needs repair. First thing I'm going to do is test the standby voltage on the fan connector. You can do this with the multimeter, but I have a little tool that will help me show in videos. Standby voltage on the power supply is 12 volts. This is a strong indicator that there's nothing wrong with the power supply. What we're going to want to do is read the UART codes and see where it leads us. To do that, I got to take the lid off of this. Be right back. So the UART codes gave me a couple. 80810001 is kind of a general power fault. It doesn't help me much. Then we have, what was this? C as in Charlie 0020303. That says APU not responding. Check fuses F3501 and F7501. So we're going to pull the board and check around those fuse points for failures. All right, here is F3501. Continuity is good. We'll just check these caps real quick. 0.44. I'm in diode mode. 0.44. 0.44. 0.53. 0.49. 0.63. 0.44. 0.44. We just don't seem to have any issues in this area. Let's move on. Okay, this board version, the EDM-040, doesn't have F7501 on it, and that must go to a different board revision. So that solution is non-applicable to us. So I'm going to have to just poke around and find out if we can find any shorts. So in my service notes, I show that one time I resolved the C0020303 error by removing the BIOS chip and reflashing it. I'm going to try that. My experience with these chips is that the easiest way to get them off is to add low melt removal solder to the pins, because it otherwise takes an extraordinary amount of heat to get off. So let's add some low melt here. Switch hands and do the other side. With any luck, we won't even need to use hot air. Look at that. Absolutely magic. You have to blast so much hot air to make that happen ordinarily. So I'm going to wick up all of this low melt solder. And let's try and wick this up too. All right. All right. We don't want any solder where it's not supposed to be. Very good. Okay. Now we move to our programmer. Okay. So the dot on the chip corresponds with pin 1, and this is pin 1 here. So we're going to attach this here. See if I could just solder one leg real quick so I can get this oriented. All right, that actually looks pretty good. So we're just going to solder the rest of these. All right, beautiful. Now, it doesn't need to look perfect. It just needs to connect to the computer so that we can flash it and program it. Okay, now I've connected it to the computer. All right, so excuse the dimension of many windows here. I have the file for EDM-4 or 040. That's the board I got. And this one is without disk drive. So we'll open this file. And now we're going to, what do we do? Let's see. We want to write the IC. So it's going to erase, write, and verify. Let's do that. IC will be erased and program continue. Yes. All right. Doing its thing. I don't have much commentary right now. It's writing a file to a chip. So I guess the big thing is whether or not you have these files. I dumped some of them. Other ones I got from other guys who share with the community. They're out there. If you Google search for them, you just got to make sure you get the correct BIOS file for the board revision you have and whether it's digital or with a disk drive. All right. So that was a success. So we'll just unplug it now. Now I need to remove my chip from this reader, and I don't want to disturb the other things going on there. So I wicked up as much solder as I could so that I could just apply a little bit of heat to get that off. Now I need to solder the BIOS chip back on. Again, you see the dot on the chip right there. That corresponds with that arrow on the board. All right, I just want one of these to stick a little bit so I can solder the rest of them. Let's get some solder down. All right, very cool. I'm just not left-handed. All right, just want to make sure that those are each, don't just have solder resting on them, but are actually soldered to the board. So I'm going to flux it up here and hit it with my large iron. And of course, I bridged it. Let's avoid bridging it again. All right. Let's clean up that flux mess. All right. I honestly have very little hope that this is going to work. But in my notes, I also said that I went in and erased all the error codes. So before I do a power test, I will hook it back up to UART and wipe the error codes and give this thing like a clean slate when I go to power it back on. All right, got my minimum reassembly for testing. I've cleared the UART codes or flashed the BIOS chip. We're plug power in and let's see what we get. All right, we had a flash of a blue light and nothing else. So, was not the BIOS chip. That's unfortunate. I didn't find any shorts on the motherboard. And currently, this is a no fix for me. I don't know where to go from here. The only thing I'm going to try left is to replace the power supply unit. And that's because I don't even know. Maybe it's possible that even though it has a standby at 12 volts, that it's failing to juice up once it's supposed to. So I have a power supply on hand. I can plug in and see if it changes anything. New power supply in. Power. Takes a few seconds to juice up. And then I can't believe it was the power supply. Who would think that the power supply would be the problem when it tested with 12 volt standby? Let's see what we got here. Well, there it is. It's fixed. I should be happy. I am losing my freaking mind on why a power supply with 12 volt standby would fail to boot the system. But there you go. You learn something new all the time. This is good for my tech notes, and hopefully someone else learns something. We do repairs at DVD Game Exchange Repair Center in Orem, Utah. DVDGameExchange.com. Power repair. Go to our website for the most current price. I can't list a price in a video because prices change over time. But the price on the website will always be updated. All right, thanks for tuning in. I hope you learned something. I'm going to get this put back together and bill out the customer.